Welcome back. At 4 p.m. today, U.S. District Judge Marcia Petman was expected to issue her decision about whether the Sonics would have to stay in Seattle for 2 more years. At 4, she released this statement, quote, "The parties have settled the case. Details of the settlement will be released by the parties." Then exactly 1 hour later, the news was made public.
The NBA will be in Oklahoma City next season, playing their games. The transition and the move of this operation and this team begins tomorrow morning from Seattle to Oklahoma City. And it begins with the most important piece of our organization. It begins with our players.
Clay Bennett officially broke the news to the public. The Seattle Sonics were now the Oklahoma City Thunder. Many Sonics fans hated the news, but they wouldn't expect the outcome that the organization would end up having. The NBA is known for a history of what-ifs. For example, what if MJ never retired? What if Kobe and Shaq stayed together? What if D-Rose, the youngest MVP ever, had never torn his ACL? Oklahoma City would soon follow along as they create a team full of future MVPs, but before we start on the Oklahoma City Thunder, we have to look back at what went wrong in Seattle in the first place. Seattle would be dominant during the 70s, even winning 1 championship. Unfortunately, the arena that they played in, Key Arena, was too old for the team. Funds weren't insufficient to build a new arena, which led to the departure of the city. NBA executives gave the green light to move the Sonics to OKC. The Oklahoma City Thunder would eventually become one of the most dominant teams for years to come, due to drafting back-to-back-to-back future MVPs. They'd go on to create one of the biggest what-if stories that still affects the franchise to this day.
With the second pick in the 2007 NBA Draft, the Seattle Supersonics select Kevin Durant from the University of Texas.
Kevin Durant would be drafted 2nd overall behind Greg Oden in the 2007 NBA Draft. Russell Westbrook would be drafted 4th in the 2008 draft, while James Harden would go on to be selected 3rd in the 2009 draft. While the superstar big trio took off in popularity, they'd go on to dominate the NBA for years to come. They'd even went as far as earning the nickname Loud City due to the high amount of noise that the stadium would generate. Even with the high energy that the fans would constantly bring in, the team would never be able to capitalize during the big moments. In 2011, Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavericks would eliminate the Thunder in a 5-game series. A year later, the Big Three would make it to the NBA Finals, but once again would lose 3-1 to LeBron James and the Miami Heat. During the offseason, James Harden would be traded to the Houston Rockets for 2 players and 3 future draft picks. Many people would consider this to be the fall of the Thunder's original Big Three dynasty. After trading James Harden, who had just won the 6th Man of the Year award, the Oklahoma City Thunder were willing to try to build a team around the 2 remaining superstars. Over the course of the next several years, they'd carry the franchise's legacy. Kevin Durant would go on to win the 2013-2014 MVP, in which he gave his infamous "You're the real MVP" speech.
We wasn't supposed to be here. You made us believe. You kept us off the street, put clothes on our backs, food on the table. When you didn't eat, you made sure we ate. You went to sleep hungry. You sacrificed for us. You the real MVP.
Kevin Durant would even go on to star on the cover of NBA 2K15 and even open his own restaurant in the city, increasing his overall likeness and image to the public. This would lead many to believe that Russell Westbrook would continue to live in Kevin Durant's shadow. As time went on, the Thunder would continue to compete for a championship. The Thunder would go on to face the Golden State Warriors on February 27, 2016. Stephen Curry would go on to drop 46 points against the already dominant Thunder. Many NBA fans consider this to be the game that solidifies Steph as the greatest shooter of all time. Especially towards the end of the game, with the game tied at 118 in overtime, Steph would go on to take one of the greatest game winners of all time.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! With 0.6 of a second remaining.
But I think I've said this maybe before the game, about Curry is like he understands the length and time in a game, and obviously there's points in time in a game where he can hit you with some flurries like he did there.
The Thunder would go on to make the playoffs, eliminating the Mavericks and the Spurs in order to meet the Warriors in the Western Conference Final. The Thunder would go on to take a 3-1 lead in the series, but it wouldn't be enough. The Warriors would go on to defeat the Thunder, making a comeback on a series that many thought would have already been over. Funny enough, the Warriors would go on to choke their own 3-1 lead against the Cavs in the finals. As the NBA season came to a close, Kevin Durant became a free agent. While many OKC fans were expecting Durant to once more return to the Thunder, he broke all the trust and love that the city had once given him.
If I have a preference, of course, I'll always take center court.
Federer's cool. He sweeps into his 14th Wimbledon quarters. All right, my friends, don't forget that we have the biggest sporting events happening at the same time. Then the best way to view them is on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app.
Breaking news.
Happened.
It's here. And it's Golden State for Kevin Durant. Think about that team. Stephen A., the news again coming in moments ago. Kevin Durant heading to the Golden State Warriors. How are you viewing this move from Durant?
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar. Plain and simple. That's just how I look at it. It's not that he's leaving Oklahoma City. If you're not happy there and you want to move on and you want to grow as a player, there's nothing wrong with that. He's one of the top 3 players in the world. He's a quintessential superstar. He deserves all the credit in the world for the talent that he possesses. But the flip side is this. They were up 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals. Not 1, not 2, but 3 different times. He was 48 minutes removed from getting to the NBA Finals by winning the Western Conference. 3 times he failed, particularly in Game 6. And you depart for the team that beat you when you're on the cusp of getting to the finals yourself or ultimately winning the championship for the franchise that you've been with since you've come into the NBA. I think it's incredibly weak, and I don't want to hear any comparisons.
Well, it wasn't the fact that Kevin Durant had left the city. It was the fact that he left to the team that had eliminated him from the playoffs just a few months prior. The words, "If you can't beat him, join him," traitor, and most infamous, Cupcake, were quickly talked about throughout the entire city.
And like charting deflection. So I don't know how you would do it from afar. And by the way, mentioning Providence College, how about our colleague Doris Burke getting honored at Providence College today?
Nobody deserves it more than DB. Meanwhile,
nobody had realized the tension that was happening behind the scenes. Durant had also slipped up by responding to a fan's comments on his actual account on Twitter instead of his burner one. Now that Kevin Durant was gone, Russell Westbrook would finally be able to step out of his shadow and take the reins on the city. But a new question arose soon after. Would he be able to lead the team the same way that Kevin Durant did? Russell Westbrook would go on to win the 2016-2017 MVP, allowing the Thunder to bring in superstars such as Carmelo Anthony and Paul George.
George, way off, hits the side of the backboard.
During Russ's MVP season, he'd be eliminated from the playoffs by his former teammate James Harden and the Rockets. 1 year later, after the arrival of Paul George and Melo, they'd meet the Utah Jazz with the talented rookie Donovan Mitchell. The series would get extremely heated, especially due to the racial tension that the Jazz's fan base is known for.
How it started was a young man and his wife in the stands told me to get down on my knees like he used to. And for me, that's just completely disrespectful to me. I think it's racial. I think it's just inappropriate.
The Thunder would eventually lose the series 2-4, being sent home with the question if they'd actually be able to compete for a championship. While the Thunder was hungry for a championship, Kevin Durant would go on to win 2 back-to-back titles with the Warriors. Oklahoma City and their fan base were tired of being first-round exits, and they needed some answers, quickly. During the 2018 postseason, the Thunder would go on to match up against the Trailblazers. At the time, Damian Lillard was averaging almost 30 points a game that entire season. The media would critique Westbrook on his decision-making, which many believed affected his playmaking during that series.
And how far he's paced Westbrook. When we look at Westbrook, we love his talent, we love the way he competes, but his maturity level and maturation level as a leader and also as a teammate and as a player has definitely been stifled. He seems stuck on where he was in the past and not necessarily where he needs to be presently and in the future. And I think that's affected his game.
He seemed more frustrated than usual. The Thunder would eventually go down 3-1. Game 5 would be just as intense as the previous 4, but Damian Lillard would take a shot not only to destroy the Thunder, but to change the course of his future forever.
A chance to send the Thunder home. Long Main Street. It's good! At the buzzer!
Many people believe this shot to change the course of the Thunder's future forever. Or so they thought. At least that's what many believed. After the loss, the Thunder had two choices. Either keep trying to work through their issues or just let it go. It was best for all parties to let it go at the end of the day. The organization decided to go into full rebuild mode, even trading away their centerpiece. The man who had given such hope, joy, achievements, and love to the city was gone. Russell Westbrook was gone. He was traded to the Houston Rockets for Chris Paul and 2 first-round picks. Paul George was traded to the Clippers for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and 5 first-round picks. Yes, 5. Chris Paul had now returned to Oklahoma City after previously playing here for the New Orleans Hornets. He was seen as a role model, an experienced veteran. He'd mentored Shai into becoming the player he is now, a future MVP caliber superstar. During that season, the Thunder would be eliminated from the playoff contention by the Houston Rockets. Alongside that team with Russ and Harden, the 2 former superstars of that team. The Thunder were sent into panic mode, as they had to act quickly for the new rebuild. Sam Presti, the Thunder's general manager, and arguably one of the greatest general managers of all time, would absolutely bombard the team with future first-round picks. As of 2023, they have 15 first-round picks and 22 second-round picks for the next 7 years. Most of these players that will play for the team in the future aren't even in high school yet. Sam Presti has drafted more and more key prospects such as Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. While the Thunder are continuing to rebuild the team, they've even managed to get the funds for a new arena. Remember at the beginning of the video how the Seattle Supersonics lost their team because of insufficient funds? Well, the city of Oklahoma was not about to let history repeat itself. On December 12, 2023, Oklahoma City held a vote for its citizens in order to decide whether they'd be willing to help pay for the $900 million arena. Out of almost 60,000 people who voted, 71% of them said yes to a new arena. Many citizens have had mixed feelings about the funds going to the new arena since the state of Oklahoma is known for its homelessness and its bad education system. For many, this new arena can be seen as a way to help establish more revenue to the city that could help combat these issues in the first place. The city has grown day by day due to these players giving their all to the city, due to the people high up in the organization such as Sam Presti putting work in and day out, and most importantly, to the fans and citizens of the city. While the team as of today is looking like a championship contending team, the question will always remain. Would the Thunder have been as successful if they had kept their original Big Three? What went wrong in the first place? What could have gone differently? And most importantly, what could have been? Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope y'all enjoy it. You know, it's my first video, so it's still a work in progress in terms of like editing and stuff. But I put a lot of hard work into it. I worked on this video a few years ago, but I recently just started picking it up, you know, because the Thunder started doing really good all of a sudden this season. I mean, it was expected, you know, but you get the point. Anyways, I do have a couple projects coming up in the next few weeks, months, so I'm gonna be working on that. But yeah, leave a comment, let me know what you think about the video. Let me know if you liked it, didn't like it, whatever, you know. I just had a voice crack right there. Anyways, back to the point. Thank you for watching, and yeah, hope you stick around for the next one. Hope y'all have a good day. See ya.